Thank you. It is my great pleasure to attend the Green Cities Forum today in Brasov. It's wonderful to see so many of you gathered here today to promote mobility and alternative transport, green spaces, urban regeneration and sustainability. As we all know, sustainable practices create a more friendly and productive environment, not to mention that they avoid an excessive use of resources that ultimately cause health problems and damage the environment. Cities and regions are important actors in reaching net zero targets. Most urban development today still harms nature, but designing, planning, building, renovating and managing cities with nature-positive interventions is arguably one of the most feasible approaches for tackling climate change and biodiversity loss. Responsible for nearly 40% of all greenhouse gas emissions, the built environment can become a driving force behind global climate change mitigation efforts. Most cities today are struggling with environmental degradation, traffic congestion, and inadequate urban infrastructure, in addition to a lack of basic services such as water supply, sanitation, and waste management. A sustainable city should promote economic growth and meet the basic needs of its inhabitants while creating sustainable living conditions for all. As the major focus of green cities, sustainable transportation attempts to reduce a city's reliance and use of greenhouse gases by utilising eco-friendly urban planning, low environment impact vehicles and residential proximity to create an urban centre that has greater environmental responsibility and social equity. In this regard, we're delighted and honoured to work with Romania to support cities and regions on their path to net zero. Of this, I would like to mention two projects we have worked on in the past couple of years, the first of which was actually implemented here in Brasov. I salute Brasov's efforts, and I'm glad we have established excellent working relations with British experts through the Sharing Cities initiative that Brasov, alongside Piatra Neamț and Alba Iulia, have proactively joined. The Sharing Cities programme, led by British consultancy Urban DNA, provides collaboration means to support the transition to a new mobility model in response to net zero climate goals and emerging new mobility technologies, through developing city-specific mobility roadmaps to speed up the transition to a shared, inclusive, sustainable mobility model, developing a model transition roadmap identifying the areas of potential common frameworks and solutions that will aid all cities in Romania, seeking opportunities to strengthen national framework conditions to support faster and better adoption of a new mobility model, collaborating internationally to develop an innovative and replicable model for mobility islands as a stimulus to the transition to a new mobility model, and finally, sharing the lessons learned to support the overall market. Inclusion-Apoca, a UK SME, built and tested a framework to drive action in Romanian cities engaged on the journey from low carbon to net zero mobility. It identified needs and barriers, Inclusion-Apoca, tested and quantified the success of several climate mitigation measures and addressed gaps. This helped local policymakers and stakeholders involved in the mobility decarbonisation process to clarify and combine their priorities, and provided UK players with information and knowledge regarding local priorities, ambitions and investments. The work performed by the UK experts will potentially facilitate further collaborations via Horizon Europe, Recovery and Resilience Fund and other local funding. One of the lessons learnt was that transition from low carbon to net zero requires a combination of measures, mobility being challenging and complex, as it includes both cutting-edge technology and citizens' behavioural change. The UK government recognises the importance of cities, states and regions in driving climate action, showcasing the pathways to net zero and influencing national governments to raise ambition. The COP26 Cities, Regions and Built Environment Day successfully illustrated how collaboration among the climate leaders who are working to improve the places we live is vital, both for emissions mitigation as well as supporting resilient communities. At COP26, the UK presidency secured commitments from over 100 governments, regions, cities, businesses and organisations for 100% of new car and van sales to be zero-emission vehicles by 2040 globally and by 2035 in leading markets. We're on track. The UK economy has decarbonised fastest in the G20 since 2000. Since 1990, the UK has almost halved our greenhouse gas emissions. Between 1990 and 2019, We've cut our emissions by 44%, decarbonising faster than any other G7 country. We were the first major economy to put into law that we will reach net zero carbon emissions by 2050, and we are the largest producer of offshore wind energy in the world. We have announced the end of the sale of new petrol and diesel cars in the UK by 2030, putting the UK on course to be the fastest G7 country to decarbonise cars and vans. Our target of bringing all greenhouse gas emissions to net zero by 2050 is going to revolutionise the way our economy works and how we do business. A growing number of countries across the world are following suit and set similarly ambitious targets, but more needs to be done collectively to achieve net zero by 2020 at the latest. Cities, just like businesses, play a crucial part in achieving a net zero transition. By setting ambitious and credible net zero commitments, you can send strong signals to markets, supply chains, governments and consumers that businesses and cities are committed to the transition, which is why I'm calling on your cities to set ambitious net zero targets and take action to reduce emissions and build resilience by joining the Race to Zero if you haven't already done so. The Race to Zero is a global campaign to rally leadership and support from businesses, cities and regions for a healthy, resilient, zero-carbon recovery that prevents future threats, creates decent jobs and unlocks inclusive, sustainable growth. 17 Romanian cities, including Brașov, have already joined the Race to Zero, showcasing their ambition and leadership potential. The COP26 Glasgow Climate Pact acknowledges the vital role that local communities play in driving climate action and emphasises the importance of collaboration across all parts of society to deliver effective climate action. The Mayors and Regions Advisory Council has played a key role in this endeavour, offering local insights and experiences to help meet our climate goals. During our presidency year, we will continue to work with cities and regions to deliver on our international commitments. We remain committed to engaging with local and combined authorities to build on our progress in Glasgow. We will continue working with partners such as C40 Cities, Under2 Coalition, and members of the Advisory Council to ensure that the commitments from COP26 are delivered. To conclude, the current crisis in Ukraine does not change the urgent imperative to deliver on climate commitments. Climate action is at the heart of long-term energy and human security and remains the UK's #1 international priority. Strengthen NDCs, net zero commitments, concrete policies to decarbonise polluting sectors and support for developing countries are critical, not just for minimising the worst effects of climate change, but also improving energy security. We recognise the importance of cities, states and regions in driving climate action, showcasing the pathways to net zero and influencing national governments to raise ambition. Last year's forum was designated the best event about the environment in Romania. This is a terrific illustration of how one community can serve as the catalyst and play a significant role in helping Romania successfully address environmental challenges and educate its residents about how sustainability fosters healthy communities and raises the quality of life. Thank you.